guys. It took me a long time to figure out that joy comes into my life at the most unexpected times. I've totally given up chasing it. And this little story I'm going to tell you tonight has been buried very safely for a long time. I'm sure I never told my husband, but let's see how this goes. As I've told you in other stories, my sorry-ass first husband ran off with my best girlfriend and left me and my toddling daughter abruptly. I might not have told you that my best friend also had a toddling child, so he just kind of did this even exchange. One wife, one kid. They even had a dog kind of like ours. One dog, one house. Even Steven, neat and tidy. Now, I didn't have a husband anymore, but I did have a teaching job, and I did have some friends. But it didn't take me long to realize that my social life was going to take a real hit. People just don't know what to do with odd numbers. And I wish I could tell you that I took this time to embrace myself and to love myself and to figure this out, but I wasn't nearly that smart. There was just this loneliness that I had to figure out. So I started looking around, and there weren't any meetups or anything then. You have to remember, this is the late 1970s. And finally, I saw this group after some really lame research called Parents Without Partners. And I was a member of that group. Now, I can't believe I still remember this, but they met the third Thursday of the month in Dover, Delaware, in the Best Western Conference Room. So it took me a couple months to get my courage up, but I finally did. So I was ready to go. Now, when I think back on this night, I made some pretty serious mistakes, but I'm just going to tell you about one. And it had to do with my outfit. See, I didn't have a lot of money. My budget was really slim for clothes. And I would make some of my clothes. So I had made this maxi skirt that kind of drug along the floor, but I thought it was pretty cool. And I had a peasant blouse that I didn't make, but it was a little lopsided. And I had some beaded moccasins. You see, I had a little bit of trouble giving up my hippie days. Let's just say that when I got to the meeting, most of the other ladies were bearing a lot more skin. And they had much higher shoes. But I didn't let that slow me down. I went up to the table and they had coffee. Can you believe there was no alcohol here? So I got my coffee and I saw this guy, but before I could move, I heard this man say, "Do you think she's part Amish?" A really dirty look, and I looked, and that damn guy had his pants like halfway up to his armpits. But somehow I didn't say anything, and I sort of checked to make sure I didn't put a bonnet or anything on. So then I went on my way. I had to do better. So I said hello to this man whose pants were in the right place. That was my only standard by then. And I started to say something to him, but he said to me, and there were folding chairs, and I kind of scooched the folding chair next to him, and he said, "So how's your life going?" And I said, "Just hunky-dory." And he said, and he just barked at me. He said, "I don't have time for hunky-dory." He said, "These meetings only happen once a month, and I need to make some connections. I need to know things like, did your husband leave you because you were bad in the sack?" I choked on my coffee. I went off to the ladies' room. Now I have coffee splattered on my maxi skirt. But I'm talking to myself in the bathroom stall saying, you've paid for a babysitter. You have to keep going. So this time I went back for a cookie. And my luck changed. This guy, whose name really was Jim, came up to me and he said, would you like to have a seat? And I was putting on the charm at this point. I can't believe it, but I used the same words that that other guy had used, and I said, well, how's life treating you? And 20 minutes later, my eyes were crossed. I was absolutely sure that his 8th grade son was going to end up in a reform school. And I knew that his 3 ex-wives could not be nearly as stupid as he said they were. And I knew I had to get the hell out of there. So the first chance I had, I bolted for the door as fast as you can bolt in those moccasins I had on. And I got out the door and I saw my Volkswagen Rabbit and I went heading for it and I opened it and I plopped down and I was so happy to be in that car until it wouldn't start. I pleaded with that cantankerous car to start, but I did everything I knew, which wasn't much, but it didn't start. So I trudged back in, had my coins because I had to go to a payphone. And I called my friend Amy. Nope, she didn't answer. I called a colleague that I worked with, and his wife said, oh, I'm sorry, Dean's in bed, he's sick. So then, I gave up my very last shred of dignity, and I called my almost ex-husband and asked him to come and do me one last favor. And when he pulled up in his pickup truck, and I climbed in, only briefly catching my dress in the door. Oh, it wasn't a dress, I'm sorry, my maxi skirt. That's when I felt it. Joy, complete, beautiful, unbelievable joy. Sitting next to the man who had made me an odd number. But it only lasted for a very short time until he couldn't quit laughing and could barely get out the words, parents without partners in a maxi skirt? I didn't say a word. There really weren't any words. I still cringe when I see a Best Western.